Yo, what's up, guys? Let's see. I'm going to get this thing up and running here, and then we're going to get into this reaction video. Let's see. Okay. Check them. Where do I want to put this? Where do I want to put this? I want to put this above here. Bring this down here. There you go. There. All right, guys. So I'm going to be working on getting myself a new camera. I know it's a little grainy, but it'll do for now. It'll do for now. So this is my first time doing a reaction video. I'm going to react to this here. It is Living While Black in Japan, all things considered. Okay? So I'm going to try to keep an open mind. This is going to be a short video because I got to get out of here pretty soon and head out about 45 minutes and pick up my daughters. But we're going to see how it goes, and I will mute my mic so it doesn't pick up too much of the feedback. But let's see how it goes, and I'll chime in where I think I need to chime in if I agree or disagree, and let's see what black people think about living in Japan. Oh, for those of you who may not know, I live in Japan currently. My wife is Japanese, my kids are half Japanese, and I've been living here for 5 years. So I don't want you guys to think, let me bring this down a little bit, I don't want you guys to think that I'm just some random dude who lives in the States still and reacting to this. I currently live here in Japan. All right. So again, I apologize for any of the grainy image of this here camera. I am in the process of getting a new camera. So without further ado, let's get into the video, shall we?
5 cops standing on a black woman's neck in Birmingham because at some point they were taught and they believed that they were better than other people because they were white. It leads to a moral bankruptcy. It is inevitable. It cannot but lead there.
Okay, so let's pause here real quick. Can I pause it?
Please.
Hold on, let's go back.
Please, I can't breathe.
Okay, so let's pause this right here real quick. For those of you who can't read it, it might be too small or so on. It says in May 25th, 2020, George Floyd died under the knee of a white Minneapolis police officer while repeatedly, wow, I can't read, repeatedly saying, "I can't breathe." Now, before it goes any further into that, I have my own 2 bits on that. Let's see. First, before I go, let me make this a little smaller so you guys can see it. There we go. So I don't know if you guys really followed the George Floyd situation too much. If you're even aware of George Floyd and who he is. He was an individual who lived in Minneapolis. Whatever your thoughts are and whatever your feelings are about George Floyd, the bottom line is he was a well-known drug user at the time of his apprehension, was currently under the influence of drugs, multiple different type of drugs. And he was confronted for trying to cash or pass on a fraudulent bill. For those of you who don't know what that is a fake money. So, fast forward a little bit, he gets confronted by the police officers in Minneapolis, at which he resisted. Now, I'm not going to say fought, that's the wrong word to use, but he resisted to a manner which resulted in him having a knee placed on his upper shoulder area, which, if you want to argue me or if you want to say I'm wrong in it, that's your right, but I looked at the reports extensively. I did my due diligence and looked into it myself. So anyway, and so I'm not here to justify the officer. The officer was definitely in the wrong for his actions, but it wasn't just a senseless killing. It wasn't American. Sorry, I'm going to drink a tea, and I wanted to remove the label. It wasn't just a police officer, as the media and Black Americans so often try to push, that the police officers are out there hunting a black person. It wasn't that. So already I'm kind of on the fence about how authentic this will be. Oh no! Sorry, I have music on the background. So let's see where else it goes from there.
Please. Please, I can't breathe. Please, man.
I like how they
Please,
isolated out his voice, the background. Okay, so again, I apologize if I'm gonna stop this often. It's this video. I originally came across this video because I was looking at what is the perception, or not even perception, how other black people are handling living in Japan. I myself am having a hard time with the adjustments and the way it is in this country. But that's for a different day. That's a story for a different day. But that's how I came across this video. And I kind of skipped through to try to, once I saw that they were kind of making this more of a racial, then I kind of skipped through that part, and then I saw this, and I figured I should make a video for it. So that's how I came across this video here. So first off, to break down this video a little more, they're isolating out the George Floyd's voice. They're isolating it out. Whoever made this video, whoever put this up, they intentionally isolated out the voice of what was actually happening. All right, so yes, that is George Floyd in the background saying, "Please, I can't breathe," and all that jazz. There's a lot more information that goes to it, but there's also what they removed is the crowd. There's a crowd of people circling around the police officers, which is a very dangerous thing for police. Again, I'm not justifying the officer's actions. I'm just trying to make it clear, because this video does not make it clear that it did. Given what this video is saying, or how this video is how this video is put out, it just sounds like a police officer is just killing this black guy laying on the ground begging for his life. That's how it comes out, and then they obviously make the clips of the other black individuals crying and reacting to hearing the George Floyd's voice. So I think that is a very manipulative, shady way to go about giving a story to something. If you're going to do it, you should do it in the full entirety and not just, isolate out voices and so on. Because it sounds bad. I do have to agree on that. So anyway, I know I do a lot of talking. Sorry about that. Here we go.
Didn't want to see it for a number of reasons. But yeah, it scares me that is something that can happen to my husband or to my son. He could have been my father. He could have been my brother's.
Makes me very angry.
And to know that it still happens at home, it's painful.
Now we're getting to the part which is in the name. We're talking about being black in Japan, not being black in America. But for some reason, I want to compare and contrast, I guess. Living while black in Japan.
And as a country boy from West Virginia, I never thought I would see any place other than my home. So I wanted to study abroad.
I liked the language, I liked the culture, and I knew I wanted to live and work here.
What's her name,
So
Ebony?
directly after I graduated university in New York, I moved to Japan.
And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. But, at the time, I didn't even have a passport or anything like that. So it was definitely a big leap of faith for me. And
It was mostly to try something new and to see what we can do out here.
Quality is garbage. You really gotta have that.
So I've been working in Japan for 24 years.
I work in music and entertainment here.
Olympic short track speed skating team, I'm their strength trainer.
I own a restaurant with my husband, and I am a food coordinator and a gospel teacher and so many other things.
I'm sure you guys don't want to see my face so big in this.
When I moved to Japan, I was moving to Japan. It wasn't for a visit. I was ready to leave the United States. I was ready for a change.
Right. I didn't leave because I was running away from anything. I left because I felt I could be more myself in Japan.
Living in Japan as an African American, I've honestly never felt more free.
All right, so quick stop. I will leave it for a different video, but I cannot stand the term African American. I find that very endearing. I think it's actually quite insulting to actual Africans who might have moved to America, and therefore they are actually legitimate African Americans. If you're born, this is my own personal opinion, but I believe if you're born in America, you're an American. You could say Black American if you want to put a color to it, but to say African American, I cannot stand that term, African American. Okay, so let's continue. Also, another quick note: I'm starting to kind of see a pattern here with the people that are interviewing here. They all seem to have left America with the automatic idea that they no longer wanted to be in America. So I kind of feel like that might kind of sway a little bit in regards to the the reasonings to why one black person may come. It might. I mean, obviously, there are black people out there who might be in the same boat, but I feel like they're missing a big audience with that. Because I didn't leave America at all with the intentions of I was tired of America. Or I wanted a new start. I left America, like I said. My wife is Japanese. My children are Japanese. So I wanted them to have a firm understanding of their culture because they are half black, half American, half Japanese. So that's my intention. It's just to allow my kids to have that exposure. So nothing at all about race. But let's see where this goes.
Free.
You know, I can do things here in Japan that I can't do back at home in the US.
I can catch a cab when I'm not trying to catch a cab. People in stores that are supposed to serve you. Like,
okay, so I didn't hear much of the first part he said. I believe he said that he can catch a cab without trying to catch a cab, or hail a cab without trying to hail a cab. As a black person, as you can see, this is not a filter. This is not, special effects or anything. I'm a black person. I've seen many of videos where people will say that they were unable to catch cabs, that cab wouldn't stop for them, and I've never witnessed that. I've caught a cab many a times in America myself, and I've never had an issue with that. Now, not saying that because I didn't have an issue, it doesn't exist, but I just find that a very odd point to point out that you had a hard time catching a cab, especially since in America, majority of cab drivers happen to be minorities. So I find that odd. The second part, he was saying that he's gone to places for service. I'm assuming he's talking like a restaurant and got service. Again, I've never, nor have I met a black person who's ever had that issue in modern day America. Okay, maybe if we were talking about interviewing our grandmothers and great grandmothers, maybe. But in modern day America, 70s and up, 60s and up, I don't see that have been too much of an issue in too many spots in America. But on my own personal note here, I personally have been kicked out of a izakaya here in Japan. So I kind of skimmed through this video before I made this video, and I'll be chiming in a few times again. But it's funny how in America I've never was kicked out of a restaurant. I never felt sorry. I never was made to feel odd or unwelcomed in a restaurant. Never in my entire 30 years of living in America before moving to Japan. But my first year living here in Japan, I was told not to come into a izakaya. Now, I was going out with a group of friends who are Japanese, and they were fine to go in, but myself, I was not able to go in. The chef guy threw a big X and said no. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Okay, let's keep going.
Like they serve everybody else.
One more, okay. Hey.
Okay, I know I just stopped the video. I know. Hold on. I know I just stopped the video, and that guy's probably like, "Dude, stop stopping the damn video." But I remember that lady who was in the flower or the strawberry ichigo dress. she's saying that she's able to do things in Japan that she was not able to do in America. And I'm wondering if that was the not able to wear those type of clothing or that type of clothing. Um, I'm not dogging anybody who dresses like that. I don't want to turn away any prospect people who might be interested in these videos. I don't want to do that, but I'm just saying that when you dress in that manner, if you dress on a what is it, a Marie Antoinette, whatever Antoinette type dressing, if you dress like that in America, yeah, you will get some stares, and it's not a racial thing. It's because it's a style that's not a norm here. In America. In Japan, it is a norm, and even in Japan, people still look at you. It's just people tend to feel like they don't have to care because they have such a culture for that type of dressing and or behavior that they feel like it's not that big of a deal. But people do still stare at you. So I wonder if that was part of her tie-in to her saying, "Oh, I can do things that I could not do in America." So I wonder. I was interested to see.
This courtyard was open and there were plants.
I was sitting on a bench. It's a little park near my house.
And an old man comes up and says, "Oh, hey, come on in."
And then there was a little old lady bent over, coming down the block.
And, and he offers us free vegetables. And then he offers us some tomatoes. And he was just friendly and kind.
And she passed me, and I said, "Kumbawa." And she looked up, and she said, "Kumbawa." And she put her head down and kept it moving. She didn't turn around to see if I was behind her. She didn't care.
We didn't have to worry whether someone was going to call the police on us, that we were going to get shot, that we were going to get assaulted.
Because
I'm sure you guys saw me shake my head there, so that's a tall tale sign. I'm gonna stop it. So talking on this gentleman's point here, he said that he came across an older lady or elderly lady walking down the street, and he said "Konbawa" to her, and she just acknowledged him and kept it moving. That's probably because she's old, because she probably didn't give a crap. I myself, where I live, I'm not going to put my city on blast, but where I live, I've walked outside many a times. Obviously, lived here for 5 years, and yeah, I get stared at every time I go outside. I absolutely hate leaving my house because I do get stared at. My wife hates it. She likes going out with the kids and going to the park and going to the mall and all that stuff. I absolutely hate it because where we go, I always, without a doubt, will get that kind of look, and it's super annoying to me. I know a lot of people will say like, it is what it is, Shogunai, but it just to go to a story that this lady was just like a old wholesome kind lady. Maybe she is a wholesome kind lady, but the majority of people actually are not like her, and they will stare at you and probably won't say anything to you if you do acknowledge them, because I do that on a daily basis. When I go to the conveni, I'll walk in and somebody come past at the same time or go into the door at the same time. I'm like, sumasen, dozo, and they just kind of front their nose up at me and keep walking in, or, some Japanese people, and I don't want to make this video about dogging on Japanese people. I just want to make it clear. I want to make a clear painting to anybody who might be thinking about moving to Japan and or who lives in Japan and facing the same issues. Japanese people can be very rude, and they tend to be very rude the more further you get away from Tokyo. So I'm interested to see if these people live more closer to Tokyo, or maybe Osaka, or maybe even Okinawa. Those places maybe are a little more because they're more used to having foreigners. But once you get outside the main cities, they tend to be a little more ruder and less willing to talk to you. So that's my 2 bits on that. Let's keep it moving. There we go.
Trained. We've been programmed that people are afraid of us.
Never felt
but here,
afraid of me. I feel more
I really don't
afraid
get that.
of me in Japan than I do.
I really don't get that. I feel good here.
America forces us, unfortunately, sometimes to live in terror, not just of police, but that America's the greatest country. You can only be successful here. I look at my home, I look at my family, I look at my friends, I look at my career, and I know that's a lie.
Oh, sorry. Were you hearing anything I was saying? Okay. Sorry, I think I turned it down too far. But but these people have this ideal that you're going to know Japanese and that you'll understand the language right off the back. And I can tell you from 5 years living here, it is not an easy language to learn. It is not, especially if you come here as a foreigner. Most likely your job will be an English teacher. Most likely your job will be that of an English teacher. And most companies let it be ALT, an assistant language teacher, or maybe you might work in a kajuku, which is like a kids duo, or so on and so forth, like an after school program. You'll be heavily pushed to not use or Japanese, so you'll never develop your Japanese ability because you're being forced to use English all the time. That's at least what's in my experience of living in Japan. Is I most of my all my work is in English, so I can't use Japanese. Therefore, I haven't learned as much as I should probably. Plus, like I said, Japanese is not an easy language. Um, so as I'm seeing from these people, it seems like they understand, they speak, they know the language of Japanese. So that obviously automatically pulls them out of the category of that of a person who's just looking to maybe come to Japan but doesn't know if they need to know heavy Japanese, or they moved here but they still haven't learned the language, like myself. Um, it's a different ballpark for you. When they say that America gives you the ideal that you can only be successful there, it is almost damn near impossible to start a business in Japan. If you're looking to be an entrepreneur, it is almost damn near impossible. Not only just with the racial boundaries, because they are. If you move to Japan as a foreigner, it is almost impossible. Not saying impossible, nothing's impossible, but it's almost impossible for you to get a loan, which you will need to start a business, right? We all know business loans. It's very hard. The Japanese banking system makes it very hard for foreigners to get anything done. The Japanese government makes it very hard for foreigners to become part of their culture, or not culture, but part of their country. I myself, if you are familiar with living in Japan, if you're not, you come to Japan on whatever visa brings you here. So, like I said before, my wife is Japanese, so I'm here on a spousal visa, which is the highest visa you can possibly get. My wife is Japanese, right? And then but you can get here on a work visa. You can come here for a student visa. There's many different type of visas you can get to come here. But the way that the immigrations department works with the government of Japan, obviously, it's extremely hard to get out of those categories you're in. So like I said, I'm here as a spousal visa. I've been here for 5 years. I just now this year got extended to a 5-year extension on my visa. Now I have 2 children. One was born here. My youngest is born in Japan. I pay taxes in Japan. I work in Japan. I'm providing children, which is something very needed in Japan. I feel like myself and probably hundreds, if not thousands, of other black people in Japan probably have the same story as I, but that doesn't matter. It's only this unknown, unwritten rule about how long you need to be in Japan before they say, "Hey, okay, you can go ahead and get your permanent residency." Which once you get that, then you're green lit. You can go ahead and live life like you're a normal citizen of the country. But before then, you have many limitations. You can't get loans. You can't get and those things you need, especially if you're looking to build a house or buy a car, a new car, not a used car. Things that you would want to establish yourself in America, in the country, to be part of the country. They do make it very hard. So when America says that you can only be successful there, I don't think America says you can only be successful. I think America does say that there are many routes to become successful in America, and I think a lot of people are misconstruing what the intentions of America. I believe America does offer lots of routes, and America is one of the most, no matter how much you disagree with it, the fact of the matter remains is it's one of the most foreign-friendly countries in the world, as a person who lives as a foreigner in another country. So just keep that in mind.
Back home, I felt targeted.
Certainly. Less of a person, more of a threat.
To get out of the car, and they say, they stop me.
It's a really tense situation, when you see this white cop coming toward you, especially if it's 2.
They say, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, huh? And they tell my friend Brad, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white fella, they say, we don't want you, son. Leave.
I'm always extremely polite. Yes, sir. No, sir.
But I feel like no matter how I act, it's up to the officer of how my life is going to go after.
He's like, can I have your ID?
All right. All right. So again, this video is titled "Living While Living While Black in Japan," and yet I have not heard them talk much about living in Japan as a black person. And I know there's far more points to point out living as a black person in Japan than they're talking of. So it really leads me to believe that this is a heavily scripted, heavily organized interviewing. And the reason why I say that, not only by the lack of information they're providing about living in Japan, but we're 5 minutes into a 15-minute video, so we're quarter away there, but the lingo he's using now. This gentleman here, Henry, he obviously doesn't look to be much older than me. Okay, I'm 33, so I'm gonna put him around the 36, 37 range, maybe 38. All right, I don't think he's breaking the 40 mark. Okay, so he's not a massive generation gap between me and him. And I say that because if he was like 70, 80, then maybe I can understand the lingo he's using. But he's saying he was stopped out with his buddy one night, and his buddy is a blonde hair, blue eye, which is very odd because I lived in America. I lived in California. I lived in one of the widest areas of California, and very seldomly did I actually have a friend that was a blonde hair, blue eye individual. Okay, that's just the hallmark, stamp of an ideal white person, and that gives me more feeling that this is a scripted interviewing, because rarely do you actually have friends that are blonde hair, blue eye exactly. Like I had many white friends who were brown hair, green eyes, brown hair, blue eyes, brown hair, brown eyes, black hair. A lot of white people come in more colors than we give them their respects, right? But he says blonde hair, blue eyes, white fella, right? And then he says that the officer looked at him and said, "We don't need you here, son. You can leave." Right? I believe that's the verbiage he used. "We don't need you here, son." Now, I myself, who dabbled in the law enforcement before moving to Japan, went through the police academy, has countless friends that are police officers. I can tell you that no police officer in modern time, day to day, is going to say those words to anybody at all. And I'm talking about within the last decade, okay? 2000s up, at least, okay? And maybe if you're way out in the boondocks of some backwood, Arkansas backwood, maybe, okay? But he says that he's from the country, but it's not a small town country. So I'm not getting the vibe that he's being completely transparent and honest to this. I find it odd. Very, very seldomly will somebody use those terms. Or very rarely, I should say. Very rarely would somebody use those terms. So I feel like this is not a very genuine interview.
ID. And I'm like, sure.
There was a fear there. There was a worry that something like that along those lines could happen to me, being accused of something that I didn't do.
And I said, I'm giving him my Harvard student ID because maybe he'll think if something happens to me, someone will miss me.
I feel intimidated. I feel scared.
Okay. It's really sad because I really hope that this video, before I cut it, I might break this into a 2-part maybe, but I really hope that before I cut it, I was going to get some information about living in Japan, and there's so much more information than they're providing. But they're really focusing heavily on the fear of being a black person in America. First off, a police officer asks you for your ID, just give them your ID. It's not that big of a fucking deal, really. That's why you're provided ID, so you can identify yourself. People out there will argue that is literally what they're for. Okay? Identification. ID yourself, right? I do have a personal story to that, and that's why I'm kind of picking on this a lot. Within my first year living here in Japan, I was walking in my said city. Again, I'm not going to put my city on blast or its police department, even though I do not like them. I was going to work. This is before I was driving. This is before I got my car, before I had my license. I was going to work, so I used to use the train. All right. We all know that Japan's public transportation is light years ahead of most countries, right? So I was walking through the train station. I had my little headset on. I had my earbuds in. Walking through the train station. Early morning. It's cold, and I'm cruising, not paying any attention to anything, just walking, right. And all of a sudden, this dude walks up on the side of me. He's on the right side of me, so I'm walking this way towards the train station, or towards the entrance gates of the train station. And he walks up on the side of me, and I kind of look at him. I'm just like, "Yo, like, what's up?" You know. But I didn't say anything. I was just kind of looking at him like, "What the hell?" They're like right next to me, and then he kind of pulls his hand out of his pocket, his coat pocket, and he has a badge in his hand. And then that's when I stopped, and I was like, "What the fuck? Like, what? Okay." And then I stopped, and I pull my earbuds out, and I'm like, "Okay, what's up?" You know, like, and he's just like, "Oh, Keisatsu." And I was like, "Okay, I get that. I see your badge." And then he's just like, and then, no, I'm not kidding, people. Three other, now this dude's an undercover. He's in a regular business attire. He's got a business suit on and jacket on, carrying a little briefcase, completely inconspicuous. I did not know he was a cop until he pulled the badge out on me. Okay. Then out of nowhere, so I got my back up against the wall, right? So there's a little glass wall um, at the train station, and so I got my back up against that wall. And as I'm standing there and this dude's talking to me, you know, I start seeing three other people in suits. Like, oh, there's a woman who was in her, you know, the women suit, you know, pantsuit. Another dude came up, and another OG-chan, another older gentleman came up behind me from the right side of me. So they kind of like came in at an angle. You know what I'm saying? They came at an angle, and I'm just I haven't done nothing. All right, so I'm just standing there like, what the hell? And so then pop, the other three cats get there, and then they all pull out their badges, and I'm just like, bro, what? Like, why do I have 4 police officers on me trying to go into the train station? Like, I'm just got my headset in, I'm just jamming, going on my way, you know, not acting funny, not moving, not doing anything sideways, being honest, right? And so they come up on me and they're like, yeah, they need to, you know, check my ID. And I'm like, okay, like, why? Why do you need to check my ID? I mean, I'll give it to you, but I just need to understand, why is it you're stopping me? Because I know in law enforcement in America, they have to at least have a reason to stop you. If they stop you, they don't have a probable cause to why they're stopping you. Probable cause or reasonable suspicion, one or the other, to stop you, then you can say no and you can go on with your way, and then you have a case if they continue it. But these dudes, I would, that's what I was asking for. I was like, why are you stopping me this morning? What did I do? And so, you know, they're just like, oh, okay, no, we're stopping you because we have to check all gaijins going through the train station. And I look up at this moment. I look up and I see 2 white dudes walk right into the train station. I got 4 police officers on me, and 2 white dudes go into the train station unscathed. Nobody talking to them. Nobody fucking with them. Right? So I'm automatically like, okay, well, that makes no sense, because if that was the case, no, I'm not actually even gonna lie. I even said to him, I was like, well, if that's the case, so like, why are you guys not talking to them? You got 4 here. Why don't somebody break off and go get them to check their ID? They're a foreigner, right? But they're not. They were more focused on getting my shit. So at this time, I don't know Japanese very well. So I call my wife on the phone. I'm like, hey, this is what I got going on. This is what's happening. And she's like, okay, let me talk to the dude. So she talks to the lead officer guy who's talking to me, and gets some information. And then she gets back on the phone and she's like, yeah, they just want to write a report about contacting you. And I was just like, why are they going to write a report? I did nothing. I did nothing wrong. So what is this report? What is this report you're generating, right? I'm a little concerned about a report. Are you going to lie? Could I have another story that leads a little bit behind before then? That's why I have my mistrust in the Japanese police department. But so she tells me that, and I'm like, okay. So I show my ID. I show him my ID. I hold it up. I give him my name. Let him see the back so that they can see the name. And then the dude was all like, "Oh no, we want it. Can you give us your ID?" And I was like, "No, I'm not going to give you my ID, because in Japan, at the time my ID was my residency card, right? Which is extremely important for foreigners in Japan. If you get caught without your residency card, you can be fucked, right?" So I was like, "No, I'm not going to give you my residency card. This is my residency card. I paid for it. This is my property. You have no reason that you need it. If you want to get my name, I'm holding it in a manner where you can see my name, my address. You can get all the information you need. You can see the picture. You can see it's me, all that, right? But I'm not going to give you this because it's extremely important to me. And I'm really kind of iffy about why you're stopping me, right? So we go on with that, and then finally I get on the phone with my wife again. I'm like, look, you know what? I think this is kind of has to do a little racist. I feel like this is a little racist because none of it makes any sense. They're writing a report up on me. I didn't do anything. I wasn't fighting anybody. I did nothing, 0% of anything, right? So my wife jumps back on with the dude, and then she says to him in Japanese, like, this is kind of racist, and at which their whole demeanor changed. Like, they backed off. They're like, okay, sorry, and then they didn't need the ID anymore, and then they let me go. And I was just like, ain't that a motherfucker, right? They held me up for about 30 minutes, and I was like, ain't that about a motherfucker, right? As soon as I say that they're racist, and my wife is speaking Japanese, so they obviously know she's Japanese, now they're going to back off. So my point to that story was, this whole thing about them being afraid of police officers, I've never had that incident in my entire existence living in America as a black person. In a very white area, in a very white state. Never did I have any of those issues. And now, again, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. It has never happened. There are bad officers just like there are bad anything. There's bad doctors, bad lawyers, bad everything. Okay? There's always somebody who's not doing the job for the reason it needs to be done. But the way they make it sound like is they have all witnessed this atrocity, what's the word? Damn. They all came across this act in their life that has scarred them to where they're afraid of police officers and being contacted, and I can tell you right now, if you're coming to Japan or you live in Japan as a black person, you will have more contact with the police as a black person in Japan than you would as a black person in America. I can tell you that with honest, with 100% behind my words. Truth. All right, so we're going to go for a few more minutes, and then I'm going to get off of here. Maybe break this into part 2. Appreciate you guys getting on here. Please like, subscribe. If you don't even like the video, I don't care, but just subscribe so I can get some numbers up. I want to get paid, right? All right.
I feel like I need to carry myself perfectly.
2 more police officers, 4 police officers, just for me.
Yeah, I had that in Japan.
It makes me feel powerless.
And then he stands in front of me and asks me this question. He says,
Here we go.
So what do you think about that OJ verdict? And I thought to myself, he's trying to get me to say something or to...
All right. I'm... okay. I call bullshit. Yeah, I call bullshit. Less of this contact happened in 1962. Bullshit. Okay, again, I don't think this guy is that much older than me. Maybe 5 to 6 years older than me. Maybe, okay? There's no fucking way that a police officer stopped him and is just like, hey, boy. So what you think about that OJ verdict, huh? You mean OJ verdict from like 1990s? Okay. The way that he's selling this, the way his facial expressions, the way he's trying to emphasize certain words is clear, tall tale that this is all bullshit. There's no fucking way possible. I'm sorry, I call complete fucking bullshit on it. What is that Family Guy thing when Shibupi or something, when you don't agree, I call it that, man. This is bullshit. This is completely just a race baiting right here. This has nothing to do with living in Japan.
Do something to provoke him into hurting me.
Yep, that's what.
There's no need for him to ask me that. There was no need for him to stop me.
You would think that I did something terribly wrong, and just the body language, the demeanor, the tone of his voice, just the way he spoke to me, it was almost demeaning.
And I remember my mother teaching me what to say when a police officer stops you, and there was nothing in my Rolodex for this. All I said to him was, I'm sorry, officer, but I don't know what you're talking about. And he looked at me, and he looked at my ID, and he said, well, it's just sad for everyone. And I'm like,
you sort of get numb to it.
I'm having such a hard time putting my face.
It's been going
that
on
guy's
forever.
a terrible fucking actor, and he
doesn't
totally
matter
like. I'm sorry.
whether
I don't
I'm
like to
doing
try
right
to
or
belittle
wrong or
or take away from anybody's story. I don't like to do that, but that guy is just flat out fucking lying. Okay, he's flat out fucking lying. There is no fucking way any of that actually happened to him. Maybe in a movie, maybe to his grandfather, but not to him. Like 100% not to him, because the way he's trying to sell it is too much selling behind that. Look at what I just told you about what happened to me in the police and the police in the train station, and look how he's telling the story. Mine's is a 100% true story. That happened to me. I can vouch that happened. Look at the difference. I'm not playing up anything extra. There was not any extra talking. There was no, well, that's just a shame for everyone. Like, there's none of that. Nobody talks like that. This is not 1950s. That shit did not happen. I'm completely calling BS on this. And now that you got this guy who's seems to be a fairly good-looking young gentleman, very athletic-looking, but he's going to talk about how hard he had it in America.
The police are an entity to completely avoid.
Gives me my ID, and I proceed to cry and shake and just almost scream. I waited until I got to school to scream. I hadn't felt so violated since ever.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut it on this, guys, because I really don't think this has anything to do about like living in Japan. Because we're already like getting up into the almost 10 minutes. We're 8 minutes and 3 seconds into a 15-minute video, and we're still just talking about how the police hate America or hate black people in America. But real quick side note: Black Lives Matter has done more damage for the black community than anything. If you think they've done anything good for you, please point out what. Okay, all they've done is fucking make us look like we're... Anyway, I'm not going to even go on that. That's a different day. The fact of the matter is this video here is a complete NPR. Living while black in Japan, all things considered, NPR is complete bullshit. It is utter race baiting. It is trying to fearmonger black people into thinking that they are worse off in America than any other country, which is not true. I was really hoping for something more insightful for living in Japan, and it's completely wrong. So maybe I'll have to bite the bullet and not do a reaction video, but just actually give my true insight of living in Japan as a black person. The pros and the cons. There are some good things and there are some bad things, and I think that this video completely missed the opportunity. Maybe not. Maybe it's in the second half of the video. Maybe they're going to talk on it a little bit, but I don't know. But as of that, for right now, guys, that's what I'm going to give you guys. Appreciate you guys for jumping on and watching this video. Remember, again, like, subscribe, hit the notification, all that jazz. If you didn't like the video, that's all gravy, baby. Still subscribe, right? You know, help a brother get to his goals. I got some dreams. I want to take my kids places, and this YouTube thing, everybody else is getting paid. I want to get paid too, right? So, please follow this channel. You'll slowly see the quality of it change. I also post a lot of other videos of I will post a lot of other videos of reactions, different things. If you have suggestions, put them in the comments. I'll check them out. I also do post a lot of video game stuff, so I will be, look for that to come. If you have any suggestions of what the next video should be, hit me up, put it in the put it in the comments, and I'll definitely get to it. And look forward to come, man. Like I said, I do have plans to turn this into a more legitimate, get a better camera, all that jazz. But for today, that was good enough. Again, I appreciate you guys, and stay true. And if you're in America, if you're in Japan, good luck and be safe on the trains out there. We had that recent attack on the train, so be safe. And if you're anywhere else in the world, love, peace, all that jazz, So till then, guys, peace out. Mwah!